And it's good to be back at Aldonio with our friends. And it looks like the weather there is much better than the weather I am having in northern KZN, where it seems like it just rains pretty much every single day. Now, guys, don't forget, in particular myself, I love talking to you guys, love interacting with you guys. So please make sure that you ask any questions or make any comments via our WhatsApp number or our various social media platforms and our website as well. Please make use of them. Please send us some questions. Please send us some comments. It's always good to interact with you guys and to spend some quality time with you guys. I love it so much. So yeah, and welcome again to all of you. And I hope you've had the best morning and an awesome start to your week. So as I mentioned, we've started at Aldonio, and we've got our regulars. I used to work at a pub in the UK. I was there for just over a year. And these elephants remind me so much of our regulars that used to come into the pub pretty much every day. It was almost pretty much every weekday. Used to come in, have a drink. There were 4 of them, and then leave. And this was a recurring thing every day at the same time every day. They would arrive at the same time, leave at the same time. And I feel like that energy has followed me now to live at the waterhole with these 6 elephants that just... constantly are around the waterhole that we see fairly regularly. But we love them, and that's why we call them regulars. And I see the eland in the background there, our largest antelope species, is looking at making a guest appearance in the background there as well. It looks like the most gorgeous day there. Wow, absolutely gorgeous. Come on, eland. Don't be scared. You'd think that the other animals would have learnt already from the zebra gang. I see the zebra are starting to gather at the back there. I think these animals have learned that they kind of have to flood these ellies. And you're now going to see some posturing from these elephants. Ears out, turning side on, making themselves look bigger. Jacinta, thank you so much. It is very good to be back. And I'm enjoying, going to enjoy the next 2 hours with you guys. So thanks so much for that. I'm just going to wait, give it a minute or two, just let these eland come in. And we'll chat about these guys. Aren't they stunning? Nice. There we go. I love these guys. They are the majority of the areas that I guide in, we don't see these guys that often. So it's a real treat when you get to see a herd of eland coming in and being so relaxed. You know, they some ellies in the background coming through as well. Mercedes Bean, thank you so much. It's good to be back. And yeah, we'll chat a little bit about the theme of the day shortly. I'm just gonna chat a little bit about our animal friends around the waterhole here. I see the zebras are coming. There's some ellies coming. It looks like we hit Aldonio at the golden hour. See that beautiful dewlap. So these eland are more kind of adapted to your your drier areas of the bush. You don't often see them in areas like, for instance, here in KZN, where it's quite wet, which is an understatement at the moment, and quite tropical. You don't see them in areas like that much at all. They're kind of more in your kind of drier, kind of semi-arid areas, and so they're also very, very skittish animals, actually. You wouldn't ever say it because we see them so much. We're so fortunate to see them on our feeds daily. But yeah, very, very skittish, especially on foot. If you're guiding on foot, there's a beautiful young male here, stunning young male in front of us. Got that dewlap going, absolutely beautiful boy. And yeah, so when you're on foot, if these guys smell you, or hear you, anything like that, it's game over. You hear, and they're heavy, so they run off, and then you think, oh no, buffalo. It's your first thought. It's a word that sends shivers down any trail guide's spine, is when you hear, when you think in your mind that you can smell or hear buffalo, because they are the one to really be concerned about on foot, especially the older bulls that are hanging out on their own or with each other. They can be super, super grumpy. We call them Daga boys. Daga means mud in Zulu, and the term comes from the fact that they love lying in the mud all day, hence the term Daga boys. Dugga, Daga boys. Aren't they beautiful? Look at that spiral horn. Beautiful spiral horn there. Part of the spiral horned antelope family. When I was training, we used to call these animals clickety clackers, because when they run, they have a tendon in their foot that kind of snaps back and forth and makes almost like an elephant trotting noise. Hence us calling clickety clackers. It's not very original. I get that. I do understand clickety clackers just isn't original and doesn't let your guests know that intellectually you're at the top. But be that as it may, in the guiding community, when we talk about a clickety clacker, that's what we're talking about. Fuzzy Dunlop, hello to you. Alicia Demery, hello to you. Mr. Elemental, greetings. Hello everyone, it's really nice to have you all here. And hopefully we have an absolutely cracking show. So, I thought today, because we watch so many of these animals, and I often say to you guys, I wonder what they are talking about and what they're thinking. It's something that fascinates me. I thought, you know what, we're probably never going to figure it out. So we may as well just make up our own things. So what I thought we could do is each camera that we go to today, the theme will be, I'll pick an animal, and you guys can come back at me and say, this is what you think the animal is thinking right now. And if you were that animal, what would you say? So I think at the moment, what we can do is that elephant on the right-hand side with his trunk in the water. What is he thinking? What is he thinking right now? What does he want to do? What's the thought of the day for that elephant? And we'll go from waterhole to waterhole trying to figure out what these animals are thinking, because like I said, I don't think we're ever going to figure it out unless someone creates an AI bot that figures it out, which, let's be fair, could possibly happen. I mean, it's crazy how AI is just taking over our lives right now, isn't it? But yeah, let me know. I think my personal opinion is I think he's there and he's like, you know what, I'm so happy that the zebra are not here right now. I'm super chilled. I'm with my mates. The eland were respectful. They came in. They said good morning. They've now left in an orderly fashion. But those zebra just come and ruin everything. And I'm so tired of it. But I'm happy at the moment that things are quite chilled at the waterhole. That's what I think he's thinking. Here's a beautiful oryx. that's coming in. Hey, we've got some awesome antelope sightings today. Nice big male oryx. You can tell the males and females. The males are a little bit bigger, but their horns are a lot thicker, which they'll use for fighting and as well as digging. They also dig up melons and stuff in the drier areas if they can pick it up for the water. So remember, these oryx are highly adapted to the very dry desert areas of sub-Saharan Africa. And often they'll get their water from what they eat. So they will go for melons if they can find them, succulents, which hold quite a lot of water as well. And then they obviously migrate around as and when there is some rain. So they'll use those horns to dig up, whereas the females are longer but are much thinner. So that's the easiest way to tell between the two, especially if you see them parallel and you can see the horns between the two. So we're going to leave these ellies and the oryx, and I can see the zebra are starting to cause trouble in the background there. We're going to head over to Zimbabwe, to Hwange, and see what's going on there. Elephants. Wouldn't it be weird if we switched over to a waterhole and there were no elephants? I think there'd be outrage. Everyone would be like, what's going on? What happened? Look how dry it is there. Sure. Very dry. Now, Hwange is a very interesting game reserve. For any of you that have been there, you'll kind of understand, but it's a collection of open pans, big, beautiful open pans, and then they are separated by these labyrinths of big, thick, ironwood and mapani trees, these big, huge, almost like forests in between these pans. And if you go to Hwange in the high season for us in tourism, which is kind of from May onwards till around about September, October, when you go out on the game drive in the morning, you see no elephants, none, absolutely zip. You see tracks, you see dung, but no ellies. But you know, at that time of the year, there could be anything from 50,000 elephants upwards in that park alone. But you don't see any of them. It's the weirdest thing. And you carry on, you go from pan to pan, essentially, which is what you do on the drive, because you don't see much in the very thick kind of wooded areas. Every now and again you get lucky and you bump into a roan antelope, or some eland or something like that. But you're essentially going from pan to pan, which is where most of the activity is and most of the predators are. And then you go back to camp and you still haven't seen any ellies. And then in the afternoons, you head out and you go into the pans and they are just absolutely flooded with elephants. I vividly remember stopping for sundowners the one evening on the edge of one of those pans and just not being able to count how many elephants there were. There were just hundreds of them. Now, this is not a herd of ellies I'm talking about. This is many breeding herds of elephants that come together for water and food security. Check out that baby there. Oh my goodness. Cheapers. If there's very few cuter things in the bush than a small baby elephant. He's using his trunk, so he'll be 6 months plus. It takes him about 3-4 months to learn how to use that trunk because it's got could have close to 100,000 muscles in it. It's basically it's an appendage on its own, so they have to learn how to use it, and it takes some time. But yeah, that one is I would say, judging by the size as well, that one's probably over a year old.
Let's go and take a look. See you out there.
At Wild Earth, we believe every story has the power to create change. That's why we've launched the Wild Earth Impact Foundation, a non-profit dedicated to conservation and social impact. By showcasing conservation stories, we can change lives, protect nature, and empower communities. We have partnered with Empowers Africa to accept tax-deductible donations from US donors. Your donation will help fund critical programs that support our mission. Join us and be part of the change.
My full name is Maxine Gaines. Most people that know me really well call me Max. I'm a mum. I have 2 boys. One is 16 years old and one is 14 years old. I'm a very, very proud mama of my 2 boys. I've just always been passionate about leopards. I'm passionate about their conservation. I'm just passionate about everything to do with leopards. I love them.
The bush, full of beauty, wonder, and absolute chaos. And now, all that madness has its own show. It's called a Wild Bush Week. The countdown of the most outrageous, heart-stopping, and sometimes downright ridiculous wildlife moments of the week. Lions throwing their weight around. Hyenas gate-crashing the buffet. Leopards doing, well, leopardy things. Each week, it's a fresh reel of safari gold, a mix of drama,
She's just got an impala, everybody.
danger, and a healthy dose of laughter. So, if you fancy a highlight show with bite, and I don't mean just the animals, tune in to a Wild Bush Week. You bring the tea, and we'll bring the tusks, tails, and teeth.
Female elephant, obviously there were lions in the area, and she obviously felt a lot more secure giving birth close to the lodge, and that's exactly what she did. She came really close to the lodge, gave birth, the rest of the herd surrounded her, and yeah, it was absolutely amazing. But just having that knowledge, that kind of thought pattern of it's safer here, and then they moved off, and it takes 2 or 3 hours for that little one to be able to move on with the herd and kind of get up on its feet. And that female almost knew that this was, at the moment with the lion pride in the area, look, they'd taken a buffalo down, so their attention was elsewhere, but she obviously just felt that that was the safest spot to give birth at until the little one was big enough to move around. But that's the kind of knowledge that these matriarchs carry around with them. And so they are vital to the survival of the herd. Now, as they move around and as the years go by, she passes that information down to her daughters and her nieces, essentially. And so if she passes away, that information is then kept going. It's almost like a massive library that's just moved from one spot to another. And it's always within the females. The males, once they get to the age of about 13 to 15 years old, they get kicked out because they start bugging everybody. But the females will always stay within their natal herd. Every now and again, kind of in smaller enclosed game reserves, some females will be chased into other herds for mating purposes. But it's very, very, very rare. I've actually only heard about that happening once in my whole guiding career. Generally, they just stick in their herd, and they all look after each other. You know, it's a phenomenal thing. You're watching the older female moving around with her daughters and nieces, and then you've got the younger females with their youngsters, and it's just one big family. They all look after each other. They all look out for each other. Some of the bigger females during the drier periods of the year will break big branches down on the trees to land on the floor for the youngsters to feed on. It's amazing. They actually have a lot in common with human beings than you would think, in terms of just how they behave and how they are with their family. Penelope, you good morning. You're saying that there were lions at El Doño last night, and then there was cheetah a few days ago as well. Can you imagine? It's a dream to one day be sitting talking nonsense about elephants, and next minute we shoot back over to El Doño or wherever, and there's a lion drinking, or a leopard or a cheetah or something like that. I'll probably fall off my chair. It'll go quiet. You just hear a noise, a bash, and then probably followed by about 10 to 15 seconds of quiet before hearing me recover and start talking. It would be awesome. I think Kerry had a hyena last week, I think, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, every now and again, that's how you got to keep watching, guys, because you never know. That's the thing with the bush. I often get asked by guests, don't you get bored? Don't you get tired of driving the same roads and looking at the same animals? And I say to them, no, because every single day is different. Every day there's a new animal in the area. There's a territory that's under threat. There's new birds that have come into the area. It's every single day is different, especially when you're in a big open system. Like Kruger National Park or the Okavango Delta, Moremi. These animals, they have these massive areas to move in and out of. And honestly, you just never, ever get tired of it. It's just the most rewarding job on the planet as far as I'm concerned. I could be biased, but we are just so fortunate and lucky to be able to do this together every day. It's just amazing, isn't it? Just so cool. Now, what's interesting as well with these ellies is the further north you head. So as you're going into the drier areas in Botswana and into Zimbabwe, their tusks are quite brittle, actually. So in South Africa, there's a lot of the vegetation, because there's lots of it and there's a huge variety of it. The elephants are getting good calcium and phosphorus deposits pretty much every day. But these elephants, unfortunately, they have to move around a lot and they don't get as much calcium and phosphorus. And in fact, a lot of the times they're actually getting their sodium from the soil. They'll actually eat bits of soil as they move on. And so they by comparison, their tusks are very, very brittle. And so if you look at these elephants and you look at their tusks, I know there's no massive big males, but just take into consideration, even if you take one of their tusks and times it by 2, the ellies at El Doño, it's another level, isn't it? Just thinking about those tusks. And just like every other living being, you've got to have a lot of different nutrients and vitamins, not just calcium. It's not like we could run off into the bush now and give all of these a vitamin and run off. You've got vitamins that work in conjunction with each other, and one works to absorb the other. And if you don't have both of those, you just urinate it out. And that's exactly what happens with these guys. So because they don't get a huge density of the vitamins, even if they got a big injection of calcium, it wouldn't necessarily make much of a difference. But you can see how destructive the elephants are. If you look around on the bank there, all the trees that have been kind of broken up, all those game trails that you can see where the ellies have moved out. And remember, animals always feed from the water out. And it's actually quite interesting as well for any of you listening who visit Kruger National Park fairly often. Sometimes I'll have guests or people that I just meet in Kruger that'll say, oh, you know, we went to such and such a waterhole and we see it's not functioning anymore. And it's so disappointing because we used to have such good sightings there. But what places like Kruger Park do, Kruger Park are actually very good at it, is because of what you can see on your TV screens or computers or phones at the moment, is if you look at the damage that not only the ellies have caused, but the zebra would have caused, the buffalo would have caused, that complete degradation of the soil there. Not much is going to grow. And so when you have a pumped water hole that you turn off, and you turn on another water hole that's, say, 30 kilometers away, what you actually are doing is you're giving the area around that water hole space just to breathe. Because the elephants and the big game, obviously, that are very that they need water at a constant rate. Like these elephants, they eat so much food, they need to drink at least 3 to 4 times a day to be able to digest everything.
See you out on the safari.
It could be a very exciting morning.
What does it take to handle the wild? Balance. Determination. Focus.
Yaku!
And gear that can take a beating so you don't have to.
And that's it for this morning's drive.
She's just got to impala, everybody.
And we're going to be heading out and seeing what animals we can find.
Safari, wine, and waterfalls. The ultimate African adventure. Sip South Africa's finest wines. Experience a world-class safari among Africa's iconic wildlife. And stand in front of Victoria Falls, one of the natural wonders of the world. All this can be yours with Wild Earth Travel, where Africa comes alive.
Some beautiful waterbuck here. See that male that's just come into screen is testing if that female is in estrus or not. They're cute. Look at those. Look at those ears and that face. They really are beautiful animals. Looks like East Africa is just having the most amazing weather at the moment. It's beautiful. You see how red these waterbuck are from the soil. Obviously with the mud and the sand and everything, with that very red, there's a lot of iron oxidization happening in that soil. And you can see how it's almost made them like a they look like they're part of the Mara. So awesome, man. Yeah, Lady Macbeth, you're saying that too many artificial waterholes are environmentally counterproductive. Absolutely, you're right. You have to, you can have as many as you want, I guess. But you know, at the end of the day, you have to manage them in the right way. And so you've got to have a wildlife manager, somebody who understands the soil type, understands the vegetation, but also a lot of what people don't understand about the environment is that the plants communicate, and you know they have their own kind of chemical communication and underground communication that happens between them. And when an area is being fed on so heavily, that communication ramps up, where the vegetation will actually communicate to the other vegetation in the area, where it be trees, grasses or whatever, to up their tannin levels, because essentially what they're trying to do is prevent the animals from feeding on them. So what that extra tannin level does is it actually prohibits growth. So it actually affects the area negatively. So you have to manage it as effectively as you possibly can. And it's very, very interesting. And next time you guys any of you are near a waterhole or anywhere where there is like animals feeding a lot, and you can see the area is quite overfed, just do yourself a favor and look at the trees around the water, and you'll notice that lower down they will have a branch that will come out that'll have nothing growing on it. It'll have no leaves, absolutely nothing. It literally looks like a dead limb. But what that limb is used for is the tree has essentially what we call it a sacrificial limb. And what's happening is the tree is storing its tannins in that limb, so that when it needs to up its tannin level, when it starts to get fed on, it's got a store that it can pull out of. But obviously if it stores that tannin in the rest of the tree, it affects the growth, and it affects everything to do with the tree, because tannin essentially is a poison for a plant. So how magnificent is that these plants have come up with a way of almost creating a tumor almost, that they use to store all that in and then draw out of it when they need to. I love it, man. I just love the wild, and I love Mother Nature. She just is so clever. You know, we as human beings, I know we've come a long way, and you know we've invented frozen pizza and all of that kind of thing, but we could learn so much from these, not just the animals, but from the trees and the plants. It really is magnificent. All those birds, spur fowls calling in the background. Lots of activity around. Seeing those white rumps walking away means that it's time to move on. So let's head over to Old Donyo and see what's going on there. Oh, and the gang have arrived. And I see they've brought a bodyguard, aka the Oryx. The zebra were starting to build up in the background when we left earlier. I see the Ellie on the right is still deep in thought. And let me tell you, that elephant on the right is the perfect example of a bull elephant. You see that beautifully rounded head of his? Just completely different to a female's head, which is flat on top and comes down at an angle. He just has the most amazing example of a rounded bull elephant head. Perfect for identification. I've got to say, I don't often, you guys would probably be the best ones to tell us. Let me know. But I've lost my train of thought. Sorry, I was watching what the zebra were doing. But this must be the most productive waterhole out of everything. It has to be. Like if I think about how often we come back here, and I unfortunately don't get often to check the waterholes. I do try and do a kind of sweep every now and again in the evenings to see what's going on. I just think that this has to be, and you guys can tell me because I know a lot of you sit and watch these cameras a lot. Is this the most productive waterhole? In my opinion, it is, but yeah, maybe it changes at night. I'm not sure. But yeah, let me know, guys. What do you think? What do you think the most productive waterhole is? My opinion would be El Doño here. So Helga, you pointed out the waterbuck when we were in Serengeti in Tanzania now. You were saying it has no rings on the bum. So yes, Helga, you are 100% right. The waterbuck that we saw at the previous waterhole had no rings on the bum. It's still a waterbuck, but it is a subspecies of the main one that we see, the common waterbuck. That one is a Defasa waterbuck, Defassa, Defasa waterbuck. They've got a solid white rump on patch on their butts. So unlike the common waterbuck that's got that ring, the Defasa waterbuck has got that solid white rump. So very nice, well picked up. I love how the elephants just look at them. These elephants are so polite, guys. I'm telling you, I've never in my life ever come across elephants that are this polite to animals coming into the waterhole. Never ever. It's so funny, man. Normally, just a warthog will come to the waterhole and it gets chased off by the elephants. But yeah, I think they've just given up with these pesky zebras. See that Ellie on the left there's having a big eye scratch. Got some dust or something in the eye there. I can hear some bird alarm calls in the background there. This bird is called a rattling cisticula, but you hear them all the time. Unfortunately, it's not that anything major is happening. They even call for human beings. So yeah, you can never really, say anything is happening or anything like that with these guys. So Sascot Keith, or Keith Sascot, I don't know which way around that goes, but thank you very, very much for your question. You're asking, do predators ever drink at waterholes at the same time as prey? So they do every now and again. So I have seen predators, in particular lion, that have made a kill and have been on something big like a giraffe or a buffalo. And when a predator is had a big amount of food, the sodium in the blood of the predator is quite high, and so that predator actually needs to drink fairly regularly. So what will happen is that animal will eat, feed, and then get up and walk to the waterhole. Now, what's really interesting is there's almost like, I've said it before as well, where most of the communication, interspecies communication that happens is done via body language. And so the predators have got particular body language, obviously, that they utilize, which comes naturally as an instinct. Now, if a lion gets up and starts walking kind of confidently in the open, not really in body language, is kind of very relaxed, heading towards the water, the animals will move off. Often the ellies will trumpet and either chase or run away, depending on how big the breeding herd is. The animals will move off from the waterhole, but they don't run away, interestingly enough. They kind of move to a safe distance, they'll alarm call, but then they'll watch, and the animal will come down, the predator will come down, have a drink, and then get up and walk back to wherever its kill is, and then life will resume again. The animals haven't run off because the body language of their predator was such that they knew that the animal wasn't hunting. Now, opposite to that, if they are at a waterhole and they see a predator slinking, so very low down on the bank, going from one bush to another, that body language tells those animals immediately that they're under threat, and they bolt and they disappear, and it's a happy hour at the pub is done. No more drinks will be served. And so everything is done on body language. So it's a really good question, and it does happen every now and again, yes, but only under certain circumstances. And it's something I utilize when I walk with my guests. I try and behave, because we are seen as predators. And so I try to behave like a non-threatening predator when I walk with animals. So I walk in the open as much as I can. I talk to my guests. I don't try and be too stealthy, unless some sightings do warrant you kind of going in silently and leaving silently. But for the most part, I try and behave like a non-threatening predator, and you'd be surprised how the animals actually respond. But if you kind of like walk in single file very quietly, and you move from bush to bush, and you behave, and you drop down, and you kind of go low down into an area, that body language for the animals is an immediate alarm. Straight away when they see you dropping your profile, they think that you're actually hunting them, in which case then they'll bolt. So even as human beings, we can utilize it. So Jill Beatrix, you saw Aardwolf this morning. I'm guessing at Aldonio, yes. And then Jive Bunny, you're saying that you've seen Caracal and an Aardwolf at Aldonio before as well. Yeah. Unbelievable. So I think this is probably the place to be, man. Aldonio just seems to have the so the animal sightings. Although the other places we get some pretty good sightings, but I don't think it's as common.
The Wild Earth Impact Foundation is a non-profit that uses the power of wildlife storytelling as a force for good. We create sustainable development projects that showcase conservation stories, empower people, and inspire environmental action. As a registered South African PBO, you can make a tax-deductible donation to the Wild Earth Impact Foundation. To find out more, visit our website.
My full name is Maxine Gaines. Best part of the job, gosh, I just love everything about guiding. I love being able to observe animal behavior and animals behaving naturally. So for me, that's by far the best part of the job. And so what we do here at Wild Earth is develop those connections with the people that are viewing, and maybe just light a little spark that says, you know what, I want to be involved in protecting this ecosystem.
Every week, the wilderness delivers.
And that's why we're here.
Drama, chaos, crimes, humour. All moments you'll never forget. We've counted them down, argued about them, and finally picked the very best. From rare sightings to classic bush showdowns, this is nature's weekly highlight reel. Sharp facts, bad jokes, and the wildest top 5 you'll see this side of the savannah. It's not just a show, it's a wild bush week.
If you love watching Wild Earth, here's a little tip. Become a member. You can gain access to the channel ad-free, you can rewind and re-watch sightings, and you can join our Tuesday live safaris. There's also behind-the-scenes videos, fireside chats, and every Safari Live episode, whenever you want it. It's just a better way to stay connected to nature.
Afrikaans language, they call it a troupunt. Now troupunt is translated directly to a wedding ring. So essentially in the Afrikaans language they call the roller a wedding ring. But the reason why they call it a troupunt is because some of the African tribes used to actually present the colorful feathers of this bird to women when they're proposing, hence the name troupunt or wedding ring. So it was like an engagement ring. Cool, eh? Cool fact of the day. Hopefully not the last one. What a beautiful... Do a little scan, see what's going on. See, there's some weaver nests in the trees in the background there as well. everything's coming alive now. See, Kenya are lucky enough because they're close to the equator. Their weather stays fairly stable. But here in southern Africa, we're getting a lot of our birds coming back. Where I live, actually, we've got quite a few of the cuckoos coming back. We've got one cuckoo species called the Deirdrix cuckoo, and they come specifically to lay their eggs in the nests of the weavers that live just below me. Oh wow! We've got some finches, beautiful fire finches. Wow. So I can't see 100%, but it looks to me as though these are Jameson's fire finches, and there's a blue waxbill that's coming as well. Quite a few different bird species there. The blue waxbills, the fire finches. I like the birding that's going on here, man. It's really cool. So these fire finches, I feel sorry for them in a way, because I think the stat is between 40 and 50%. I stand to be corrected, but I'm sure that the stat is between 40 and 50% of the fire finches. They get duped by brood parasites. So in the bird world, I was just talking about it now. With the cuckoos, they are brood parasites, so they don't actually look after their own eggs. They lay their eggs in other birds' nests, and they hang around. They watch to make sure that their kids are brought up, and then they leave. It's so weird, no? But yeah, we get a bird called an indigo bird, and they are notorious for laying their eggs in the firefinches' nests. And I mean, between 40 and 50%, that's huge. That's massive. I see there's some animals coming through in the background there. Some zebra. That was really cool, guys. And I just heard that. So that was a Jamison's firefinch. I just heard it calling now. You hear that? There, that call there.
This is an unbelievable afternoon.
Would you like to know what an elephant's favorite food is? You could ask me questions like that in real time. Our safaris are live and interactive from the heart of Africa.
Over here.
Watch Safari Live and connect with nature.
wildlife spectacle on planet Earth. We'll see you there.
Very laid back attitude, and that the antelope pick up on it, so they just seem to use the same waterhole. So Helga, when it comes to crocodile, the animals are always wary. I think, you know, a crocodile that it's you're never worried about the crocodile that you can see. You're worried about the crocodile that you can't see. So when the animals come down to the waterhole, if there's a croc, again, lying out on the bank or in the open, you know, not behaving in any kind of hunting manner, it's not a problem. You'll see even the water birds will walk around the croc, and you think, jeepers, that bird's going to get hammered by that croc, and it doesn't care. But yeah, it's, you know, the croc has made itself visible, and sure, everything is, you know, every predator is going to, you know, snap into action if it feels like it's got an opportunity. They're very opportunistic creatures, predators. They have to be, because they never know when their next meal is coming. But the animals, you'll notice, in particular waterbuck, you'll notice when they approach the water, ears out, and they're watching and they're looking in the water. They're looking for ripples. They're looking for any kind of movement of the water, because that's what they're worried about. They're not worried about the croc that's on the bank. They're worried about the croc that's in the water, the flat dog, as we call them. And that's what you've got to be really concerned about. This guy's just living the dream there with that water. Oh, looks like there's a springbok chilling in the shade. That tells me it is it's hot there today. Yeah, it's hot there today. You can just see by the way that animal is standing in the shade, dead still, letting the breeze go over it. That is a telltale sign for me that it is very, very hot there. I'll try to find the temperature at the moment for you, but I reckon it's going to be quite high. Give me a sec. Let me try to see if I can figure out the temperature in Utosha quickly. Whew, okay. Gee whiz. So, at the moment, it's 31 degrees centigrade, which is about 90, I think, 90 Fahrenheit. And it's going to go up to 34, 35 degrees today. And as you can see, there is no cloud cover whatsoever. So that is hot, let me tell you, and it'll be a dry heat as well. I see there's a heron, looks like a Goliath heron, that was on the opposite bank there that we just went past. But yeah, that's hot, man. 35 degrees Celsius, and I mean, it's September, although we are going into what we term as Suicide Month, which is October. We call it Suicide Month because it is Namibia, Botswana, and Zimbabwe in particular. In October, it's very, very hot, very, very dry, hardly any wind every day. And it is just impossible. After a week or two of that still heat, even the animals start to struggle. So I forget now where we. I mean, it's October. It's October tomorrow. So yeah, it looks like suicide month has started early with these animals. Shame, man. I see there's some guinea fowl on the opposite bank there by that termite mound. Hopefully we get to see that Goliath heron again. There he is there. So I said that this was a Goliath heron because of how big it is, but it's not actually. I can't see its feet, unfortunately, but some of my birders will have to help me out here. Unless it's not a juvenile. It's not a juvenile Goliath heron. I am going to go for... it looks like I'm just trying to go through my head now what we call it. It's a slaty egret, I think, but we've shot over quickly to Hwangi. I'll get back to you, but yeah, I think there was a slaty egret, guys. Maybe some of my birders can help me out with that, but yeah, there wasn't a Goliath heron. It wasn't a juvenile either. See, the ellies are moving over. Interesting. With the ellies moving so quickly, I wonder if something interesting has happened at the waterhole. I'll try to get some confirmation from you. For you guys. Sorry for shooting over so quickly, but I think something happened at the waterhole, so let's maybe just stick around a little bit and see. It's very strange that they all moved off so quickly. I hear there's some go-away birds calling. It's actually nice to see a huge kind of like landscape view of Hwangi, right? Isn't it stunning? There are the ellies there. No. I see in the tree line back there that looks like there was some impala, and they don't seem too concerned about. Yeah, I'm not sure. Might have been another ellie herd or something. You never know, man. So difficult to tell. But back into now, you see those stick trees. Remember I was talking earlier about the pans being surrounded by these massive big woodland areas, and that's kind of where the ellies head off to. And quite often at this time of the year as well in Hwangi, you'll see these big white blocks. I haven't seen one yet, but they're basically salt licks for the animals to come and get some sodium. See, there's something down there. What we got down there? Something's drinking. Zebra. Something is drinking, and my mind is looking for something out of the ordinary. It's amazing how your mind works. What is that? Is it a black and white lion? The first for television. I see there's some marabou stork on the left of the waterhole there. There's some more marabou storks there as well. The undertakers. Cool, man. So I'm going to go to a question quickly while we just kind of scan around and have a look. This is from Recycled Teenager from the UK. I dig that. Recycled Teenager, nice. I feel like a recycled teenager often. Recycled Teenager, you are asking us, how old are bull elephants when they stop reproducing, or can they carry on into old age? So they generally they don't have a massive time frame in order to be able to reproduce in the first place. They only really get to an age where they're able to kind of combat the other elephants and stand up for mating rights once they get to like their late 20s, early 30s. And they generally will then try and mate from that age, and it generally starts to dwindle by the time they get to their early 50s. So they only have, out of their 65 kind of year lifespan in the bush, they only have about a third of that where they're able to mate. And then obviously you've got your ellies that might only have one tusk, that might never get an opportunity to mate ever, because they're not able to sustain and fight off other males. So they, by the time they get to around about 50-55, Recycled Teenager, they just get too old to be able to dominate anymore. You know, the younger bulls with the testosterone just take over essentially, and they're just too strong for them. So about early 50s. That's generally what I've seen in my travels around Africa. Just busy scanning, just trying to find why those ellies bolted so quickly. Maybe we get lucky with something, hence the camera work. But yeah, we're just trying to pick something up here. I think our guys will have a look around, see whether anything comes down. Hopefully something does. We're gonna shoot back to El Doño, and then we'll let you guys know if anything does pop out here in Hwange. Oh man, El Doño never disappoints. Jeepers, let's have a look. We have giraffe, we've got zebra, we have eland, we've got ellies. It is unbelievable. Lots of stuff here. Got some oryx there in the background too. It's like a best of hits. I actually don't know a lot about El Doño. I know a lot about the area. Obviously, they're very well known for their tuskers and lots of plains birds around, guys. So secretary birds, Cory bustards, our new favorite bird. If anyone joined me last week, I'm hoping that I have made the Cory bustard your most favorite bird. And obviously all the acacia trees that we see in the background. So I know a lot about the area and its kind of fauna and flora, but I'd love to know, and I don't know whether any of you are able to tell us, why is this waterhole so productive? Is it a waterhole? Is there not much water around? Is this, the only pumped waterhole in the area? All the other ones have to wait for the rain. If any of you know, I'd love to hear from you, because this waterhole, in terms of productivity, is next level. Honestly, it really is. And just by the elephant's behavior, by the fact that they share, and they're not as aggressive as the ones that I know at the waterhole, it would tell me that this is a regular occurrence. So yeah, let me know, guys. Let me know if any of you are aware of the water situation in the area. It'd be very interesting to find out. But look at it. It looks like an AI. Someone said, please generate a productive waterhole, and create a picture, and that looks like AI, right? It's amazing. So much happening. I think we're going to head over to Founders Lodge and wait for the traffic to die down at the waterhole. Ta-da! Chubby unicorns. White rhinoceros. Guys, here we go. How cool is this? And look at those ears, constantly moving around, listening out for any disturbances that might be happening. And you can check in the background there the wind blowing. Rhino really dislike wind. They're one of the animals that just prefer not to come into open areas when it's windy. And the reason for that is their eyesight is shocking. Absolutely shocking. I think even if they had a pair of glasses on, it wouldn't make any difference. They really can only see about 5 meters ahead of them, and then everything else is kind of a blur. But their hearing and their sense of smell is very, very acute. But then when it's windy, both the hearing and the smell are affected, unfortunately for them. So they become quite they get very worried, pretty much, when it's windy, especially when they've got a calf, like this female does. The calf will stick with its mom. See the calf smelling. See how it's engaging its Jacobson organ? So it's sniffing and trying to pick up who's been there. The calves stay with their moms. The males hang around for about 2.5 to 3 years, and they get forced out. Sometimes the females will hang around a little bit longer, maybe 5 or 6 years or so, because white rhino are quite gregarious. They're quite happy to hang around. There goes that baby again. How it engages that Jacobson organ. Isn't it beautiful? So yeah, it'll hang around with its mom for a while, the female, but eventually she has to move out to get breeding opportunities. So that sniffing process that you guys are seeing there from the youngster is I've spoken about it before. It's the original Facebook. Someone has sent a DM, and that rhino is returning the message, or at least giving it an emoji. There it is. It likes the post. And now we might see it urinate or defecate in that spot, or even rub on it as like a response to the DM for another rhino to possibly pick up. I'll have to wait and see if it returns the message. I hope it does, because it would be the only polite thing to return the message. Prehistoric. I love these guys. So they are part of the odd-toed ungulate family, which puts them in the same family as zebra. with the weight of their body being on the middle toe and the two side toes being there for stability. Mom's getting cross with this little one being on social media too long. Get off your phone. Aren't they beautiful? You see the prominent teats there from the mom. It's feeding the youngster.
For years, we've shared virtual wildlife. Now, let's experience it for real. I'm Lauren Arthur, and I'd love to show you my amazing home here in the Greater Kruger of South Africa. This 5-night journey is an exclusive connection to my piece of untamed Africa. I live here in these gorgeous landscapes surrounded by epic wildlife. The wild is calling, so come and join me.
Do you want to know why impala are the most common antelope we find here in the Kruger National Park? You can ask me questions like this in real time. Our safaris are live and interactive here in the heart of Africa. Join me on Safari Live. Connect with nature.
Real? You say the best kind of roadblock? Absolutely. Look at this.
Hello, girls. How cool is this?
Because of that, and because it is so popular in places like Vietnam and in the Middle East, there's a huge market for it. And unfortunately with rhino, we got over the heavy poaching of crocodiles by starting crocodile farms and breeding crocs and selling the skin, flooding the market with the crocodile skin to save our crocs. We can't do that with rhino. There were a few farmers that were looking at doing that, and they had big expansive pieces of land that they were going to use for it. And breeding, but it's a different story. You've got, if you have a crocodile farm, the crocs will lay anything between 60 and 90 eggs. You can go in, take those eggs, incubate them, control the sex of the egg, so you can control how many males and females you have by the temperature that you have the eggs incubated at. And those crocs, once they get to 5-6 years old, will then be used for skins. With rhino, it's a different story. They're giving birth to one rhino, and to get a full horn could take anything up to 5 or 6 years. So the amount of rhinos that you would need to flood the market would just be almost impossible. And so the only way that we can do this is by cutting the rhino horn. It's a very expensive process. It's a time-consuming process because, like our fingernails, which is exactly what the rhino horn is made of, keratin, it grows back every 3 to 5 years. So every 3 to 5 years, the rhino is darted and the horn is cut. I have had people ask me, hey, listen, if you're cutting rhino horn, why don't you flood the market with the horns that you guys are cutting? The problem is that with the crocodile skins, you could flood the market and then keep the supply going or even increase the supply. With the rhino horns, you can't. Once you go through that stockpile and you've now created a market for it, you'll never be able to get those numbers back, and thus the poaching would start again. So yeah, it's a tough situation to be in, and yeah, so it's very rare to actually find white rhinoceros with full horns nowadays. There are black rhinos that have still got their horns, because they're a pain to try and find, because they live in very different habitats to the white rhino in terms of how thick it is, but they're also super aggressive and there's less of them as well. So yeah, it doesn't look great obviously seeing one without the horn, but it's how we protect our animals, and that's kind of how it goes. So wildlife lady, you were saying how gorgeous those white rhinos were. They were beautiful, weren't they? Absolutely stunning. And we've got some springbok here at the waterhole. We've got a blacksmith lapwing at the waterhole there as well. Used to be called a plover or a plover, but name changed to lapwing. And of course, then I completely missed out on talking to you a little bit about the wildebeest. I'm sure we'll scan back to the wildebeest shortly. The wildebeest are interesting creatures, actually. They are very hardy. So in the guiding community, we call them the Toyota Hiluxes of the bush, because they just don't break, and they're built like just 100% solid. So they pretty much, when they are endemic to a region, they are immune to pretty much every single tick-borne virus that you get out there. And so wildlife managers, quite often what will happen is if they reclaim an area for wildlife use, and there's been in particular quite a lot of cattle around, the area will just be peppered with different ectoparasites like ticks and everything, and the vegetation also is not that great. Now, wildebeest are perfect to put into an area like that because, one, they feed very close to the ground, so they can feed on roots of the plants. They don't need long grass to be able to survive. But also because they are immune to tick-borne viruses, they can pick up all of these ticks. And then obviously the oxpeckers come in and they remove those ticks, and they almost like sweep the area. And then slowly but surely you can start introducing animals that will kind of feed alongside them, like your zebra and so on and so forth. And then you slowly start building the area up. But as a wildlife manager, these animals are fantastic because they really, they're fantastic as a first animal to introduce into that area, just to kind of get a sweep through and to get vegetation growing again as well. Sadly, they're not the prettiest, as you can see. They have these eyes that are like goats. So in the Bushman traditions, the San and the Khoikhoi, their belief is that the wildebeest was the last animal created by the Creator. And there were just bits and pieces left over. There was a bit of female buffalo horns, the eyes of a goat, the sloping back of a sesame or spine, sheep feet. And the creator just said, listen, I'm sorry. It was like Black Friday sale here. And everything's gone, and whatever's left, you're more than welcome to take and do what you will. And hence the wildebeest was sent down to earth. So they kind of the Frankenstein of the animal kingdom, but they're still beautiful in their own way. Very odd creatures though. Their behavior is so unique to any other animal that you get in the bush. Just in the terms of how they behave, you'll get a dominant bull with females, but he never really interacts with his herd. He stays out and he kind of watches them from a distance and only goes in to mate. I've been chased off by wildebeest before on foot, where they just...
My name is Amy, and today we're going to be doing things a little bit differently.
Even a hyena coming into the action as well now. Oh my word! She's stalking the hyena now. Leopard, hyena, lion, all together in one shot. Oh! Woo! This is action-packed.
Would you like to know at what age a buffalo calf gets its horns? These are questions that you can ask me in real time. Our safaris are live and interactive here in the heart of Africa. Join me on Safari Live and connect with nature.
Ah, the bush, full of beauty, wonder, and absolute chaos. And now, all that madness has its own show. It's called a Wild Bush Week. The countdown of the most outrageous, heart-stopping, and sometimes downright ridiculous wildlife moments of the week. Lions throwing their weight around. Hyenas gate-crashing the buffet. Leopards doing, well, leopardy things. Each week, it's a fresh reel of safari gold. A mix of drama...
She's just got an impala, everybody.
...danger, and a healthy dose of laughter. So, if you fancy a highlight show with bite, and I don't mean just the animals, tune in to a Wild Bush Week. You bring the tea, and we'll bring the tusks, tails, and teeth.
Fencing and the power that needs to be used, and the manpower, the machinery for the roads, the veterinary services, the security services for the poaching. I mean, it just goes into the millions of rands to run these reserves. So guys, if you get the opportunity, and you are overseas and you get the opportunity to come out here, not only is it to come and see your most favorite animals in the world, but you are you are literally saving our wild places for future generations. Oh, we seem to have had a little bit of an interspecies mingle there. We've got some springbok and then we've got impala. Now they look alike, but they're not. One is a gazelle and the other one is an antelope. So there are a few differences between them. The springbok obviously being the gazelle and the impala being the antelope. But they do look very alike, don't they? So we got a message from Jane Ludlow. Jane, thank you so much. So remember, guys, I was asking out of interest why El Doño just seems to be so busy, in terms of, is it because it's the only waterhole around there, which would make sense. And Jane is saying that it's that waterhole is actually strategically placed there because the rainfall isn't that high. And so it's a pumped waterhole that attracts regular species and then they move off. So Jane, thank you so much. That makes sense. That makes complete sense. It would be very interesting, and I will do some homework for you guys for the next time I'm on, which I can't remember when it is, but I'll find out before the end of the show. I'm sure the guys in the tech department have just rolled their eyes. Oh, Sean doesn't know when he's on again. But I'll find out for you in terms of how do they manage the traffic in the area in terms of the vegetation. Do they, was it strategically put in an area that can handle that amount of traffic? Maybe it was maybe it's a pioneer area where the grass species is not, it can recover. It'd be very interesting. I'll do some homework for you guys, okay? We'll figure it out. So Brian, thank you so much. You're saying you're loving the show, man. Right back at you guys. I love being here, man. Love talking to you guys. Love seeing all these things. It's been a great show so far. So thank you, Brian. Looks like when you're looking at the impala and the springbok, it looks like one has gotten dressed up to go to Halloween, and the other one just didn't. The other one didn't bother. We've got the springbok with the white mask, and the impala that just forgot it was a dress-up party. So those beautiful male impala walking in the background with their horns, and that's one of the differences actually between a gazelle and an antelope. Is with gazelles, you'll notice the males and females have got horns. Male springbok is a lot thicker, whereas with the impala, the females do not have any horns, whereas the males do have horns. So that's one of the key changes that you can see on screen right now. So guys, we're going to head over to Founders and see what's going on that side. Got so excited I forgot to turn my mic back on. Check at this. So we've got a big bull that's come in, big bull rhino that's coming from the right. I'm going to go quiet for a minute or so. I just want you guys to listen to the different sounds, and then I will explain what's going on in a minute or two. I set these rhino up so perfectly to interact a bit, and it was an epic fail. All we can hear in the background is birds and the Egyptian geese. Sorry for that. I thought I'd set it up perfectly. But yeah, so we have that big bull rhino on the right hand side. You can see how much bigger he is than the female and her youngster. And then we've got the female and her youngster on the left. Now, whether or not he is the pappy, I'm not sure. It's very difficult to tell. She does seem fairly relaxed with him there, and the youngster seems quite relaxed. He's gone back to his his phone. Mom's going to be pretty cross about that. She's already giving him a look. Oh, always on your phone. But yeah, the fact that they're relaxed obviously means that. So with rhino, you've got a bull that'll have a territory, and then you will have females, sometimes up to 3 females, that will have overlapping territories within that male's territory. Rhino defecate in what we call a midden. Now, midden is basically a he's huge. Look how big that guy is. He's probably going to go and scent mark and defecate as well now. They normally, one thing they normally do around waterholes, so we might get lucky with them urinating. They urinate backwards. You see he's rubbing on the rock there a little bit as well, just sniffing. He's also on his phone now. But yeah, so what they do is they defecate in a midden, which is essentially it'll be at a point of his territory where he'll defecate in the same spot every time he goes there, and then he kicks it open and urinates with his back legs, kicks it open with his back legs, urinates on it. And what that does is it is communicating to not just the other males in the area that that territory is taken, but it's also advertising to the females that he is around. Now the females will also return his DMs. They'll come in, have a sniff, and they defecate and urinate as well. But the difference is the females will not break their dung open with their back feet. They just defecate around the midden. So you're able at a midden to tell which is the female dung and which is the male dung just by looking at that. And so they'll bump into each other every now and again. Now what will happen is if a female returns his DMs and her urine has got pheromones in it, that male rhino becomes the most excited male easily within a 50-kilometer range, because he's like, yes, date night. And he'll then follow that scent of the female to try and find where she's mating. And at that stage, obviously her calf is old enough now. Either it was a male that's been chased off, or it's a female now that doesn't need parental guidance anymore. She might still be around, but mom doesn't need to look after her anymore, and thus mom can mate. Their gestation period is 16 months, 16. And then they give birth to the cutest chubby unicorn you have ever seen in your life. What a cool sighting. So the reason I went quiet is because rhino, you see this big, huge, tank-like creature, and you'd expect like a gruff kind of noise to come out of it. But actually they make these squeaks that sound like birds. It's a very strange sound, very unexpected sound completely from rhino. I was hoping that was going to happen. But what an awesome sighting, guys. Yippee! Now listen, we're going to move on. We're going to head over to another waterhole and see what else is going on. But man, I'm excited after that. That was awesome. Nice. So we have a monitor lizard. In South Africa we call them legavines, but really it is a monitor lizard. He's got his solar panel out, photobombed by some impala there, and he's catching some rays, because as we know, reptiles are cold-blooded, and so they cannot regulate their own body temperature. And so they rely on the heat of the sun to warm themselves up, get their metabolism going, and then they carry on with their life. And let me tell you, these legavines, I've had to catch a few in my time. either at one of the game lodges, or I had one in a room once. How it got in there, I'll never know, but my guess, I thought that there was a leopard or something in the room, and it ended up being one of these guys, and they are so aggressive. I can't tell you how aggressive they are. Honestly, like, it actually shocks you. When you corner them, they open up their mouths, and so they're not the cleanest animals, and they've got a very kind of carnivorous diet, and so there's a lot of bacteria in their mouths, and so if they bite you, you pretty much have to go onto an antibiotic almost immediately, so you don't want to get bitten by them. So the trick is to actually, because you're kind of stuck with these guys, either you manage to get the head and you get your hands behind their neck like you would catch a snake. But as you can see with that monitor lizard, those claws on its feet, they just dig into you and they'll just rip your clothes and your arms to shreds. So grabbing it by the neck doesn't help. If you grab it by the tail, it swings around and bites you. If you manage to have it by the neck and secure the feet, it whips its tail and will give you the hiding of your life. So it's not the easiest thing to catch. So essentially what you actually have to do is you have to throw a towel. How I do it is I throw a towel over them and I actually lie on them. Obviously not my full weight, but I lie on them enough to flatten them out. And then I grab the base of the tail and the legs, and almost like you would tie chicken legs together. I grab the legs and the tail together and then hold the head, and then you take it out with the towel and then release it safely somewhere in the bush. But they are very difficult things to catch. Man, I tell you what, I've been scratched. I thankfully haven't been bitten by them, but I have been scratched so badly by one of these things before. But unfortunately, when a guest says to you, I don't want to stay in this room, there's a dinosaur under my bed, you have to jump into action. These things are notorious for stealing birds' eggs, in particular ostriches. They love ostrich eggs. So, they are, you often find them around birds' nests. And then going into the spring, like we are in the southern hemisphere now, you get a lot of birds, weaver birds and stuff that are laying eggs, and these guys are notorious for going into the trees and stealing eggs from them. So yeah, they're a menace, actually. They eat baby crocodiles, believe it or not. Reptiles do not mess around, let me tell you. Last remnants of the dinosaurs, they do not mess around. So Paula, thank you so much for your question. We were talking about the springbok and the impala in Etosha, and you asking what actually is the difference between a gazelle and an antelope. So Paula, essentially gazelles are antelopes, but not all antelopes are gazelles. Essentially. Okay, I know I sound like Dr. Seuss, but just bear with me. So essentially, an antelope is a very general term, right? You've got small antelope like a steenbok, an impala, and it goes all the way up to waterbuck. But gazelles also fall into that category. It would be like saying, do you have any cats out here in the bush? And that would highlight lions, leopards, cheetahs, whatever the case may be. So, I think when I say the impala is an antelope and the gazelle is not, that is actually incorrect. I'm not actually explaining it correctly. Gazelle are antelope, but gazelles are fall into their own category within the antelope, so they are removed out of antelope because of the habitat that you find them in, and also they're built differently. They are a lot more slender, they're smaller, very, very fast runners, and also impala and other antelope will run away from animals often in a straight line, whereas gazelles will zigzag. They shoot and they go off, and they jump between trees, between boulders, they go up. It's very difficult to catch a gazelle. Very, very difficult indeed. If you guys have ever watched any wildlife programs where in the Serengeti or Mara there's Thompson's gazelle and a cheetah tries and catches it, they're very difficult to catch. You've got to actually have them in an open area, otherwise it's impossible to get them. And obviously the horns, like I explained as well, gazelles, the males and females have got horns, and both males and females have actually got ringed horns on them as well, whereas other antelopes, they spiraled, so they have a shape to them, almost like a spiral shape, whereas the gazelles are obviously a lot thinner. And gazelles, you find them in open plains and deserts. You don't find them in other habitats like forests and mountains and swamps where you find your eland and your kudu. They're very, very much kind of fixed in those two places, open plains and deserts. So Paula, I hope that makes sense to you.
My name is Amy, and today we're going to be doing things a little bit differently.
At Wild Earth, we believe every story has the power to create change. That's why we've launched the Wild Earth Impact Foundation, a non-profit dedicated to conservation and social impact. By showcasing conservation stories, we can change lives, protect nature, and empower communities. We have partnered with Empowers Africa to accept tax-deductible donations from US donors. Your donation will help fund critical programs that support our mission. Join us and be part of the change.
Would you like to know the difference between a male and female wildebeest? You can ask me questions like this in real time. Our safaris are live and interactive here in the heart of Africa. Join me on Safari Live and connect with nature.
Some ellies that we're approaching now.
The light on her as well is absolutely gorgeous.
So we are going to enjoy the rest of this sunset.
Wow, this is absolutely crazy.
And thank you for joining us. For myself and Cam, we will see you next time.
Are you ready for the adventure of a lifetime? Wild Earth Travel's newsletter is your passport to a magical journey. Explore exclusive travel options featuring special offers at stunning Wild Earth locations and all hosted by your favorite presenters. Don't miss out. Head over to our website and subscribe to the Wild Earth Travel newsletter today and stay in the know on all our unforgettable adventures. Wild Earth Travel, where Africa comes alive.
Look at how cute that little baboon is. That's a very young baboon. It can only be maybe not even a month yet. So there will be more around. They hang around in troops of up to about 30 to 40 individuals with a dominant male that'll look after the troop. So there will be other ones around. She's just decided to go on a little picnic with her youngster. Oh, check the face. Check the ears. So something interesting that you guys may not know about baboons is that that kink in the baboon's tail is actually a sign of dominance. So the more pronounced that kink is, the more dominant the animal, because there's dominance hierarchies within the troop. You get very low-ranking members. Oh man, check that. Oh, here comes a cousin. You get low-ranking ones, which are kind of there for sentries and to watch out for predators. And then you've got high-ranking ones that obviously are there for mating purposes. And that kink, so you'll often find a very dominant male will have a very high kink in the tail. And then you can tell that he's one of the dominant males in the troop. And the youngsters actually inherit their mother's dominance. So when they're born, if their mom is a high-ranking female, that youngster will be high-ranking. We've got a warthog coming in, Pumbaa. Oh, and we've got a non-ranking baboon coming in. Looks like a serval with that tail. Oh, it's all happening all of a sudden. Warthog, impala. So cool, man. Here comes Pumbaa. I see Pumbaa's exerting some dominance there, chasing everyone off. You don't want to mess, let me tell you, it's one animal in the bush you don't want to mess with. Is a big male warthog. They are not to be trifled with, let me tell you. I've actually seen a male warthog chase a leopard off before, I kid you not. He got wind that the leopard was coming and he turned around and chased him off with his big tusks. Couldn't believe it. And then he trotted off like he just won the lottery. It's quite funny. But yeah, you don't want to mess with him. And it's not those big tusks that you can see that look like moustaches. It's actually their lower incisors that rub against the top incisor that are needle sharp. And they actually come up and they hit you with the upper jaw, and they can cause some severe damage. So yeah, you don't want to mess around with them. They do make really good pets, actually. Family members of ours in Zimbabwe had a warthog as a pet, and he was awesome. Found him as a piglet and brought him up, but then unfortunately he got taken out by a leopard. Mother Nature sometimes can be quite cruel. But now I see everyone else has left the waterhole, so we're going to head over to Serengeti and see what else is going on. Actually, we're going to go to Old Donyo, pardon me, and see what's happening that side. The elephants have recovered their waterhole and they're trashing it as well. Check out all that mud. Gee whiz. This is pretty much exactly how we started. It's crazy. We only have 8 minutes left as well by the looks of things. Man, the time goes quickly. Gee whiz. Can you believe it? 8 minutes left. And there's the normal elephant behavior that I'm used to. Moaning at that oryx. Here comes some giraffe.
Oh, wow.
What does it take to handle the wild? Balance. Determination. Focus.
Yaku!
and gear that can take a beating so you don't have to.
My full name is Cedric Leslie Dold. I grew up mostly here in the Lowveld. I grew up here pretty much on the southern side of Kruger National Park, a place called Marlow Park, for most of my years. Something surprising about myself, I did play drums in a band for many years. Best sighting I presented, we found Palumba and the 2 cubs, and the cubs are just way big.
This is unbelievable.
Oh, she's gonna catch it.
Come on, Tommy. Watch this, we're about to see a kill.
You can see how close he is from where I am.
Just a chore on its own, getting your kids up for school. Oh, jeez. This morning, we could not get our kids up. It was like, it was almost impossible. I think we eventually got them up like 15 minutes before my wife had to leave for work. And they're then running around. Oh, I can't find my hairband. I don't have any clean shirts. Did you put them in the wash? No, I didn't. And it's chaos. Absolute chaos. I don't know if any of you can agree with me on that. Oh my goodness. It's next level. Well, we're going to head over to Victoria Falls, I think, and see what's going on there. Sorry guys, I'm mentally in Tora, pardon me. And now we've got, look at that photo. Beautiful. They are such stunning animals, really. We've been lucky with our odd-toed ungulates at the waterhole today. We had 3 rhino, and now we've got these 4 zebra. Really nice little close-up at the water. The zebra and rhino are part of the same family, odd-toed ungulates, not only because they have 3 toes, although with the zebra it's obviously